Welcome to the Finding Purpose podcast. My name is Adam. I am your host. This is the first episode we are doing in our new studio, thanks to our friends over at Pod Populi. Today, I got my buddy Nick Scopeletti, who I was really excited to get on. Fitness trainer at the gym that I was working at. We had a lot of mutual friends, and then I came to find out that he was also a comedian. Yeah. Immediately, that sparked some curiosity from me, because comedy is an interesting niche to get into. With me getting into the public speaking, I find that comedy is one of the hardest things to do when you're on those stages. Yeah. So welcome, Nick.
Thank you for having me, man.
Dude, you're the man. You know, like, you're always smiling when I see you.
I'm usually about to leave work. That's why.
I can tell you're kind of dying inside a little bit. When I see you,
you said fitness trainer, and like, I'm hoping, like, oh my God, I've gained so much weight this year. I hope no one notices. But so happens you do comedy on the side and you're up late and you're like, let's go to the diner. Yeah. This is what happens.
Dude, it's crazy juggling two different careers. And I kind of wanted to just dig into, I don't really know much about you, and I know you're from Mamaroneck. Tell me a little about the early days of Mr. Scopeletti.
Early days. All right. Well, it all started at United Hospital in Port Chester, New York. That's where I was born. It's now a condominium, I'm pretty sure. But really? Yeah, I was born. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. I think it's not there anymore. Even my dad was born there. He was born in 1950. That hospital was there forever.
Wow. But
no longer there. And I was born in Westchester. Was there from about birth until I was 14, until right after 8th grade. My dad got remarried and moved me up to Monroe, Connecticut, up in the fucking woods.
Monroe, okay.
Yeah, I was not ready for that because I went from Mamaroneck, where it was a little bit more diverse and, there was more happening there. I went to a lot of bar and bat mitzvahs and
in Monroe or Westchester?
In Westchester.
In Westchester,
yeah,
that's what I thought, yeah.
Yeah, in Mamaroneck, there were a lot of bar and bat mitzvahs, a lot of, there were Puerto Rican kids, black kids, and then I moved to Monroe, and they're like, we have one girl who's half Jewish. And I was like, what? What the hell is this place? There's all trees and shit. I wasn't ready for it. You couldn't walk anywhere, but hindsight, best move ever. I'm very lucky to still be in touch with both sets of friends from both places. The Monroe people, they're some of my
How
best
old
friends
were you
to
when
this
you
day.
moved to Monroe?
It was right after 8th grade. Okay. I literally graduated. My dad told me we were moving, and, like, looking back, just the dumbest way possible. He was like, yeah, we're going to go to this ice cream place in Connecticut. And I was like, oh, cool. It's me, my stepbrother at the time. And I was like 13, and he got lost. And we were driving around Connecticut, and he was trying to find the ice cream place, couldn't find it. And we ended up in Monroe, but he knew we were eventually going to end up in Monroe. And he was like, we pulled up to like a lot in the woods, just like a wood. It was just woods. And he goes, this is where we're moving. And I was like, you are the dumbest.
So it was a lot.
What a horrible presentation. And we didn't get ice cream. No ice cream.
That's disappointing.
It sucked.
Yeah.
It was not, I love my father, but my dad owned a bagel shop in Mamaroneck. So, he just knew that business. He didn't know anything else. He was like, here we are. We're moving here. And I was like, oh my God, my life's over.
That's a big move, especially like around middle school, And
well, that's the thing. I was going into high school. I can remember being on this back road in Monroe. My dad's like, we're moving. And then me taking out my then Nextel phone. Remember the Nextels?
Beep beep.
The beep beep. Oh, it was the best. And you get the Nextel phone, and I'm like calling my friends, like crying. I like got out of the car. I was like, my dad's making me move, and blah, blah, blah. And they all like saved the voicemails and made fun of me. But, I had good friends back then. But it was a trying time. I was going into high school in a new state, and I was like, everyone already has their friends. Like, I'm screwed. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do.
I kind of experienced the same thing. I went to Jewish day school from K through 5.
You did?
Yeah, my mom's Persian Jewish. I was the only brown guy.
I was just about to ask some questions.
We're Sephardic Jews.
Yeah.
And that alone, like, I already knew I was different, right?
Right.
And then you leave this at 5th grade, and then you jump into public school. And when I jumped into middle school, I lived in Upper Fairfield County, in New Fairfield High School. And yeah, like having to make new friends who already established. These kids were like, oh, like we've been together since like pre-K.
Yeah.
You know, so like trying to kind of tap in and find that niche. And I, you know, kind of, it's Connecticut. So, you know, it was me, a couple other Indian kids, and I think we had maybe 2 African-American kids in my school.
Nice.
And that was hard. That was hard.
Did you guys start a gang to scare the other white kids or what?
We should have.
Should have. That would have been awesome.
But no, we opted not to. And
Stupid move on your part, man.
yeah, man. Like I think at that age, it's just very like you're still trying to find yourself, and now you're like, okay, I'm definitely different, and now I don't know anyone.
Yeah, it's a tough. It was luckily there were a lot of parallels. Like for me, like when I moved to Monroe, the first thing I thought in my head was just kind of like a. I've never been to jail, and I hope I never go. But I feel like it was like I was like speak when spoken to. Don't try to make a lot of big impression. Shut your mouth. Just be nice and polite, and things will just happen. It's because I saw other kids who were new, who came in with me, who were trying too much. I'm like, no. Don't do that. Just be quiet. Plus, there was like a lot of like, you know, up in Monroe, when you say like, people are like, where are you from? You're new? And I'm like, yeah, I'm from New York. They're like, oh my God, the city? I'm like, yeah. No, it's Westchester, but I mean, we're close to the city, I guess. Like,
You weren't one of those Westchester kids who told everybody you were from the Bronx, right?
No. Right. I knew where I was from. Not like our producer. No, I'm just kidding. I don't want to make fun of this kid, but no, I did not say I was from the Bronx. I mean, my family was from Westchester. My mother's side was from Queens. That was the most into the city we got.
Okay, yeah. I remember growing up, I'd be like, oh, where you guys from? From the Bronx. And then like, I'd become friends with these people, and they're like,
one
of my
Scarsdale.
aunt's house. Yeah, they're like, oh, they live in Larchmont. I'm like, dude.
Yeah, dude.
Like,
not
you
even
are not
fucking
from the Bronx.
close, dude.
Like, I should have known when you didn't even have an accent.
100%.
But like, that was those folks just trying to fit in.
Yeah, no, I just said New York, and I said Westchester, and they're like, where's that? I was like, it's like close to the city. I don't know. Like, I didn't know what to say. I was like, it's like a suburb of the city. I don't know. And they were like, oh, okay, cool. You know what I mean? But it was definitely a transition. I remember one of my first days there. It was like out of a movie. I got there, and it was like first day of school, and I'm dressed all nice and, you know, whatever. I'm just sitting there, speak when spoken to. Mm-hmm. And classes are going all right. Everyone's like introducing, like, they're like, oh, we have a new kid. This is Nick. He's from, you know, New York. And I'm like, hi, everyone, whatever. And then lunch comes, right? Lunchtime is like, all right, here we go. Lunch comes, I get my food. And I go see a giant table that's just empty, like one of those lunch tables, right? That's empty. And I was like, I'm not going to try to like sit with anyone. I'm just going to go there. Like, I'm just going to go there. I'll sit. If people come sit with me, great. If not, whatever. I go sit down. I'm sitting there alone, eating. I'm like, now it starts like sinking. I'm like, God damn it. Like, this sucks. At the time, too, like my stepmother was she was in our life for about 3 years, but like home sucked. I was just like in a bad mood. All I had was really football and lifting weights at the time. And I sat down there and I'm eating. I'm like, ugh. And there was this kid named Wes, who walked over and was like, hey man, you're the new kid from New York, right? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, oh, cool. He goes, can I come sit with you and like hang out with you? And I was like, sure. And then he like waved over 10 other people and was like, come on, come sit. It made me feel so welcome and comfortable. And he's still one of my best friends till
That's
this
awesome.
day. I was in his wedding. He was our class president. He was captain of the football and track team, Eagle Scout, like an all-American, nice, single mother. Dude was the man. He grew up. He took care of everything. He was like our dad in high school.
That's awesome.
If we got flat tires, we called him because we were too scared to tell our parents. So he would show up and be like, this is how you do it, idiots. And we were all the same age.
Show up with the lift.
But, yeah, he was an Eagle Scout. He knew how to like do shit. We were morons. So Wes was the man, dude. And we're still friends. We're 36 years old now. So like, I'll never forget that.
He took you under his wing. You know, like, it's funny because the loneliness that you talked about, just like kind of walking into that lunch room and just feeling it. Like, I feel like a lot of people experience that just like throughout life, where it's like new experiences and it's like, I don't know how to tap into it.
Yeah.
What do you think from like that experience has helped you as you've grown up?
That's a great question. What has helped me as I grown up? I mean, I would say sitting back and observing things, right? Like I said, kind of not just going out there and like putting yourself, like I was more like sit back, let things happen, don't force anything. So I would say that, and just kind of, you got to be patient. Like if I thought I was going to walk into a new school in a new state and make friends immediately, that's insane. Like that would never happen. So it kind of comes back to like anything with your career or with comedy, like just keep going and stay patient and like things will work out. And then eventually you get to show your real self, you know, like as it went on. Don't get me wrong, playing football helped. But then slowly I got to like show more and more of my personality. And all these kids were like, dude, this kid is insane. He's hilarious. And I would do all this wild shit when I was younger. So like, again, probably just being patient and kind of trusting the process, which sounds easy. Like now as a 36-year-old man here saying that, it's easy to say that. But I can tell you from the first, probably until I was like 31, here in like panic mode of like, I got to figure it out. Blah, blah, blah. And it's like, dude, just take your time. Also, not to keep going on a rant here, but thinking everyone else has it figured out and you don't, it's the biggest lie I've ever told myself ever. Everyone has their own pace of things, the way they do things. I had a couple of my close friends, Wes being one of them, they got married at like 25. And I was like, do I have to get married now? Like, no, everyone's going at their own pace. It's all good. You're doing fine. Just keep going.
I think that's so important because the more and more I talk to people and the more and more I meet new people, most people have no clue what they're doing. You know, I think to a certain extent, they fall into this routine where like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Yeah. But like everyone has dreams. And like, I feel like, I don't know. I feel that some of the people who I've met who look like, all right, like they got everything, and they're still not happy and they have no clue how to get happy. Right. So I think like learning, being in that trying situation in the beginning and like having just the sense to sit and observe, because I could promise you I wouldn't have been like that. And I mean, from my own experience,
you would have been annoying and loud and
I was very, initially when I transitioned into public school, I was very reserved, where I would just kind of do my own thing. And I came from like an traditional Indian father.
Got it.
Traditional Persian Jewish mother. So it's like those two cultures, it's like very much about like crush your studies, go home, and just so traditional where I was uncomfortable breaking rules until, you know, until something happened in my life where, you know, like when me and my sister found out we were adopted when we were like 12, I felt like I didn't belong, and then I had to fit in again.
Right.
And then I was like, I just redefined myself, and I was the opposite persona than I was prior. So like it was a complete dramatic shift where I was like, I'm going to do whatever I want. And I rebelled, and I was so desperate to find acceptance with people. Yeah. So I was like, if you guys are drinking, I'm drinking. If you guys are smoking, I'm smoking. If you guys are vandalizing, I'm vandalizing. Anything that
hell yeah
made me give me that sense of belonging, because I didn't sit back and just do what you did. Yeah. And observe and let it all come to me. Yeah. And I think that's so important.
I admire your recklessness though. I was a nervous ass kid, bro.
Listen, that recklessness catches up to you.
You know how like boys are wild, like little boys are crazy. Like a group of my friends were like, dude, we're going to go here and we're going to jump off this rock. And we'd be like 8. And I'd be like, guys, I don't know. Like I was that kid. Like, I'm just going to, I'll just be here and like, we'll figure it out. I don't know if I should be doing that. I was so nervous.
Really?
Oh my God, dude. I was insane. I just wanted to be like everything to be safe and everything to be calm. So like, I think for me, and like not to take a dark right turn into this, but like my mother passed when I was 6 years old. So she died when I was 6. So from there on out, I was just nervous about things, because you know what's happening, but you don't really at the same time. But like that just carried through in my life. Is like, I just want everything to be calm and relaxed and everyone to be okay. Like, I'm not going to jump off this thing. I'm too scared. You know what I mean? So that's what led me to be a little nervous kid. But
See, my mom passed when I was 26, and she died of cancer. And
same, my mom, yeah.
I think like, regardless of what age, that like losing your mother is the most significant thing as a man.
Yeah.
Like, have you ever seen that Denzel quote where they're like, a mother is a son's first true love?
Yeah.
And like, it's so true.
Yeah.
Now it's funny because, like throughout my journey, I've been in relationships, and, I think it's just like an innate thing where you're always going to compare whoever you're with to like, not the personality, but like the way that they love you.
Of course.
That
goes both ways for everybody.
It's crazy, man. I didn't know that about you.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a big, it's a big defining moment in anyone's life, but I was super young. So like, and again, luckily, the thing that I've been blessed with, lucky, fortunate, whatever word you want to use, is I've always had great friends and great communities in my life. And at the time, we're living in Westchester, and like my mother was a hairdresser in the Bronx. She was from Yonkers. So like, my dad had the bagel shop. So she had a whole crew of people. My dad had a whole crew of people. And when she passed, it was like, I didn't really notice anything. Like, it was like,
cause you had a village.
Yeah. I mean, like, yeah, my mom wasn't there, but like, I was busy with people all the time. Her friends, their kids who were like a little older than me or like the same age. So like, I always had, especially like female role model. I had my grandmother, my mom's mom was around. So my mother was an only child. So when she passed, as am I. So when she passed, grandma's laser focused on me. You know what I mean? So there's nobody else, which is good and bad.
She was the only child and you were an only child?
My mother was an only child and so was I. So once she passed, dude, my grandmother, I call her Nan. Nan was laser focused on me, which is good and bad all at the same time, because it could sometimes it backfires, but she was a great lady. But
well, it's funny because like she probably felt that she was going to fill that maternal role, but then like she can't be the spoiling grandmother because she also needs to kind of like whoop your ass a little bit.
She was from Queens. She had no problem doing that, dude. She was very nice until she wasn't. She wasn't ever outwardly mean. But, she had a rough go of it, my grandmother. She, my grandfather, who no one really spoke to because he left my grandmother in like the late 70s, early 80s, whatever. And cheated on her, the whole deal. And like, that was her first love, which back in the day, that's what you did. You married, they were like 19 when they got married, And then she got remarried to a guy who was 11 years younger than her. I guess he'd be my step grandfather. He was great, but he was an alcoholic. She was an alcoholic. He ended up dying when I was in 8th grade. He was 11 years younger than her. So this woman's lost her first husband. Her only daughter dies. And now her second husband, who's 11 years younger than her, dies of alcoholism. Jesus. So you want to talk about the focus being on me?
Yeah.
After that happened,
like this cannot be happen to him too.
Yeah, it just was. She never worried about me in that regard, but it's just like and I've dealt with it with my dad too. When you have single parents and the other one dies, and there's like only one kid, they turn you almost into their spouse in a way. Like they're like, when I first got home from college, I was chilling. I would be, I was 22. I would go out. All my friends were all home now for the first time. Everyone's been in college for 4 years, and everyone's home, living home. And anytime I would go out on the weekend, my dad would be like, "Are you going out again?" And I'd be like, "Yeah." "Do you want to, is it our anniversary? What the fuck are you doing here?" He would get so fucking like, he goes, "No, I know. I should." I goes, "Who are you going out with?" I go, "Take a guess." I go, "You know all their parents. You've met everyone for the last 8 years, man." And he's like, "Well, they just get attached in a way, so all the focus is now on you."
I never thought about that with my dad. And like, in the immediate aftermath of my mom passing away, I guess my dad did turn like that in a sense. But it was more of like, I need you to handle these things now.
You were 26.
Yeah.
So it's like, he's like, "All right, here you go."
Yeah. And like I really took the lead when she passed, when it came to like services and everything. But, like my relationship with my parents was where my mom was the nurturer and the enabler. So like, I told you I took that turn where I started making poor decisions, and my mom would be my biggest enabler, and my dad was a disciplinarian, and I would go to my dad. My dad would want to whoop my ass, and my mom would be like, no, like and I knew how to play them so well. But when I lost my mom, it was like, it's Dad's world, so it's like he could rule with that iron fist that he always wanted to now.
Yeah.
But I also learned how to kind of control that dynamic, where I was able to be like, listen, like, this is what I'm doing. And for myself and my father and my sister, like, we lived in our family home all together for a little while after that, where, yeah, it did become that where it's like, where are you going? What are you doing? Very similar to what you went through. More with my sister.
Well, that makes sense. I mean,
and then with
dad and his daughter.
Because me and him, we have the same temperament. So we'd always butt heads.
I'm sure.
And, now the relationship that I have with my dad, it's like, we are so much better from a distance.
Yeah.
I set boundaries.
Me and my dad too, bro.
I'm not sure if he sets boundaries as much as like, it's like a no news is good news when it comes from Adam. And I reach out to him and I text him. But like when I want to hang out with my dad, I'm like, hey, listen, Sunday, like I almost put it in my schedule because that's the type of boundary I need to set where like we can have a sustainable relationship,
Right. Of course.
I kind of want to fast forward a little bit because I'm curious to see how you on a football field were. What your approach to football?
No, you can't tell now.
No, I mean, dude, you got the build. What position did you play? What was your approach to practice?
Bald and I have tits now. It's all good.
Hey, listen,
yours are shaped. Mine are.
I'm working on it.
It's been a rough year, but I've been having a good time. For me, football, like again, I loved. It provided so much for me, and looking back now, if I put this brain in my teenage body, I would have been way better at football. I think it was more of a confidence thing, more of a me being okay and like letting out anger, maybe.
Outlet.
I think there were a lot of factors for me in football. I was fine. I started. It was okay. I was an offensive lineman.
Masick?
Center, yeah. Masick,
okay.
yeah. You went to New Fairfield High?
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys sucked. But
not when I was there.
When were you there?
I graduated in 2004.
All right. Oh, you guys were all right then.
Yeah, we're fine.
I graduated in 06.
Ron Halley would run through everyone.
Yeah, I know you had one good player, I remember, yeah.
That's all you needed in high school.
No, we had a full team. But football was big for me, man. Like lifting weights in football saved me in so many ways because I had a good time in Westchester. It was good. I'm a Mamaroneck, and my Mamaroneck friends are probably going to hate this, but they know what's up. Sports wasn't really the focus. It was, and it wasn't. I mean, dude, in 7th, 8th grade, I was smoking cigs and smoking weed, and like our 8th grade lacrosse team to celebrate the end of the season was like going in the woods and getting high. And I was like thinking like we planned it. We were 14. We're like, yo, last game of the season, tonight we're going out and getting hammered. And I'm thinking back, I'm like, I didn't even do that. I didn't even do that in my 20s.
Yeah.
Like, why were we doing that then? So we moved. I moved to Monroe, Massac High School, had a really good football program at the time.
Yeah. They care about sports there.
They did. It was every other year they were playing in the state championship, right? Like if you weren't in the state championship, it was like that season was a fucking bust. Mm-hmm. It was a waste. But I dove head first into that and training and lifting weights. That was my first, that was absolutely my first love. It helped me keep sane. It helped me. I didn't want to go home when I was in high school just because of the home situation. So I would stay after and lift for 2 hours, and that's like where you bond with your buddies. Plus, like we had mandatory, we had morning run 3 days a week in the off season. Like we had a month off, which was basically like December into the beginning of January, but that's it.
Okay.
The rest of the year was 2 to 3 times a week before school running, all day school. After was lifting weights. During in season, forget about it. The bell rang at 1:50, 2 to 3 you're lifting, 3 to 4 p.m. is film. I want you to do that week. 4:30 to 7:30 was practice. So like, there wasn't time to like fuck around. And plus, I wasn't that guy. I almost like lived I smoked weed and cigs in middle school, and then I was like, oh, I'm done now.
Yeah.
I don't need to do that anymore. I didn't even care about drinking. So like, it gave me my friends. It helped shape discipline. Of like, even today, I was like 2 minutes late, and I was like, fuck. I don't like being late for shit.
Yeah.
I was 10 minutes early to every meeting, being prepared. But as a player, I was fine. I was offensive lineman in a spread offense. I didn't need to be the man. And plus I was surrounded by people who were fucking animals.
Really?
So our right tackle played in the NFL for 3 years.
Really?
Now he's a corporate lawyer in Stanford. Very smart.
That's
but
crazy.
He bounced around the NFL, and we had a bunch of dudes that were just phenomenal athletes that went on like D3, D2 here and there. But yeah, me as a football player, it was looking back. I would love to hit someone now. When you're 30s is really when you want to hit people.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I wish
You're a teenager. You're like, this is fun. I'm in shape. I can eat McDonald's.
Just throw some pads on and be like, oh wait, what did you say?
Yeah, my stomach doesn't hurt. I don't know if I sleep wrong, my neck doesn't bother me. I'm fucking 16. I'm fucking invincible.
Dude, that's so funny. Well, the reason I asked is because like when you went to Massac, you took the wait and see approach. But when you're playing football, you can't really you got to get after it.
No, yeah, I definitely was. I was very self-aware. I always was very self-aware, but like I knew like I was a lineman and I played D-line. I remember kind of sucking at it and not really understanding it. And then offensive line, I was like, I knew the next year because you had to pick which side you had to go to because they ran like a 2-platoon system. And I was like, yeah, I'm going O-line. Like I have no idea what I'm doing on D-line. Like I don't. And plus like O-line was like, block that guy.
Dude, I always got so
don't let this guy get by you. I was like, deal. Sounds awesome.
They're like A gap, B gap, and I was just like, I'm just gonna hit somebody.
Yeah,
you know.
That's. I mean, yeah. I was
like, you hit the wrong person. I'm like, well, you know, like I hit someone though.
That's what those film sessions were for. Like Scopeletti, you're they would give us a U. U is for uninvolved. If you didn't hit anyone on a play, they would be like U, or a negative if you did the wrong thing, or a plus.
We didn't even do film sessions. I don't think. No.
Bro, it was so. I had no time for shit.
That's crazy.
Like, none of us had time for anything. We used to joke like the band kids fucked more than we did. Those kids were fucking. We had no time. Zero time to fuck. We were at football camp, just a bunch of angry virgins.
Dude,
well, most of us. But not all of us. I was
angry virgins who hit people.
We had a I probably shouldn't say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. We had like a every year or so for like 4 years, we had an offensive lineman who was the superstar who like was a virgin right up until after their senior season. We always used to joke that like the coaches were like, you can't have sex. We need you angry until then. Once you're,
that's crazy.
Then once you're not
nowadays
useful
that
anymore,
happens.
Like,
you're getting that program's getting shut down.
No one ever said it.
Yeah.
It just happened that way. Where these guys, no one ever was like, you're not supposed to have sex. The kids were just like
unwritten rule.
They were listen, O-lineman, bro. You were always like the big dude.
Gotta be angry.
You're self-conscious. You're like you weren't the hot receiver. No, this is how I knew. My offensive line coach was fucking hilarious. He said one time we were doing a blocking, like run blocking drill, whatever, and you know you have assigned blocks. You're supposed to do specific things. Right. Yep. And if you fuck up, it's not the end of the world, you know, but sometimes, you know, a guy would block or miss his block and go like this and like, shit. And our coach would be like, don't just stop because you missed the block. He's like, even if he's going the wrong direction, stay on your blocks. That's your job is to stay on the blocks. And he goes, let the skinny guys with the fucking girlfriends, let them make the decisions on where to run. And we were all like, yeah, totally. And he's like, that's why they do that. He goes, they're all fast and they have abs and shit. He goes, you just stay on people. Yep. Let them figure it out. And we were like, okay, all right, man, cool.
Well, it kind of like
he's right.
An early way.
If you fuck up, just stay on the block. He goes, don't just give up and let go.
Yeah,
let the hot skinny guys. That's the quote from today. Let the hot skinny guys make all the decisions.
Hey, that's hilarious,
right, dude?
But like, it kind of like is incorporating a team mentality, you know? Where it's just know your role. That's not meant for you.
We knew. When I went to go visit one of our wide receivers, he worked at Abercrombie in high school. And remember Abercrombie when like the dudes with their shirts off would be outside, like handing out like coupons, or we were like, hey, come in, whatever. And we were at the mall one day. We saw him. I was like, what's up, dude? He's like, what's up, man? We're talking. And I was like, you got anything in there that'll like fit me? And he goes, maybe in the back. And he went in the back and got me a XXX polo. And I wasn't a monster. I was like 230 in high school. It was this height. And it was skin tight on me. And I was like, man, fuck this place, dude.
Yeah, dude.
I'm out of here. It was with a bunch of other linemen, too. We were like, this place sucks. Let's go somewhere else.
Yeah. You knew your role.
I knew my role, dude.
Yeah.
I knew what to do.
Yeah, understand the assignment, man. Yeah. Dude, like, you're a funny dude, obviously. When did you first realize you were funny? And when did you like decide?
This is a loaded question. When did I realize? I mean, I grew up around funny people.
Yeah?
Yeah, dude. My grandfather was out of his fucking mind. in the best way possible. Like,
wait, your grandfather?
My dad's dad.
Your dad's dad, okay.
Yeah, no, my mom's dad, he died a couple years ago. Fuck that guy. But no one spoke to him, honestly. We didn't even know.
Really?
No idea. And he was a multimillionaire, and I was only blood relative. I could have made a claim, but I didn't. Okay? I fucking didn't. Anyway, could be living in Greenwich right now, but I blew it. No. But what the fuck was the question? Oh, funny in comedy. Yeah, I grew up around funny people, dude. My dad is funny. My grandfather was funny. The stories, and I remember specific things. Even my mother was from Yonkers, bro. She was a hairdresser in the Bronx. She did not give a fuck. She said whatever came to her mind. I would hear stories, like her friends would tell me stories, and I remember like specific things. Like she would be going through cancer treatments. Bald, lost all of her hair. She looked like Karen from Goodfellas, kind of dark with the light. I swear to God, I can show you a picture. I'm not making this shit up. And curly hair. She lost all of her hair from the chemo. She had breast cancer. And one day I was like driving, I wasn't driving. She was driving me to preschool. It's like 4 or 5. And I'm in the car. I'm looking at her. She forgot her wig. And I go, Mom, you don't have any hair. And she just goes, oh, shit. She goes, just tell him I got a new haircut. Something new I'm trying. The teachers ask anything. And I was like, okay. And I got out of the car and they're like, is your mom okay? I go, yeah, it's a new haircut. She's just working it out. She's a hairdresser. And I was like, what the hell am I saying? But I grew up around really funny people, and humor was also how he dealt with what happened. Like, my dad didn't start making jokes immediately when I was 6 years old, but we made a lot of dark humor jokes as I got older, 13, 14 years old. The first time that I'll tell 2 stories. One is about my dad being funny. So I was probably 13 or 14. Again, I'm only child, just my dad and I. My mother passed. I'd always get home before him because he worked at the bagel shop in town, and I always get home from school before him. I'd be at a friend's house. So I'd be there like watching TV, not doing my homework because my dad didn't even know that we had homework. He was in space. And I was sitting there watching TV, and he walks upstairs, and he looks around, and he just goes, man, he goes, your mother didn't make dinner again. Unbelievable. And he walked away, and I fucking started laughing my ass off. And I was like, what the hell is wrong with me?
Yeah, like you're fucking sick.
And we did, I was like, you've been waiting fucking 7 years to drop that joke. I was like, that was funny. And we used to, goof around like that. But I definitely knew I was funny when I was little. Like, and I always fucked around. And all the guys I grew up with in New York, when I would see them as adults, they'd be like, yo, remember that time in 5th grade when you fucking pulled a sock out of your pocket and you were like doing puppets in class? And I was like, no, I don't. And they were like, yeah, man. So like when I first started posting shit about comedy, because I didn't start stand up till I was 30. Okay. And I got forced into it by a friend who signed me up for an open mic.
Really?
Yeah, I'll get into that too. But I posted like my first it was my 3rd open mic set ever, which was when it clicked kind of. And I was like, oh, okay, this is kind of working. Maybe I could be good at this. And I, did the open mic set, whatever, and I posted it and on Facebook. And one of the kids who I grew up with in New York, we were in 3rd grade. Like we knew each other since 3rd grade. And he just goes, we've been waiting for this since you were fucking 8. He's like, we knew this would be coming. And I was like, oh, okay, maybe this is like a thing I should do. Hey. But I mean, I always was I was goofy. I was an only child too. Plus, like, I knew how.
You almost had to entertain yourself.
I wanted to entertain I had to. Yeah. I had to entertain myself. Also, I looked for the attention of. I don't have a PhD in psychology, but I looked for the attention of older women who could be my mother, and so I'd make them laugh and be like, "Look at me!" I can remember being 7 and making the whole. I was a ring bearer in my second cousin, I guess, his wedding, and I was a ring bearer, and I remember thinking of things like, "How can I make these bridesmaids laugh?" Like, looking back at that, I'm like, you were 7, dude. And you're thinking about, like, I got to get these bridesmaids to laugh, dude, so we can hook up later.
I mean, do you think the fact that you were, like, an only child and you had you had that village around you supporting you? Yeah,
they were all so funny, too.
Like, do you think you used humor throughout your journey to deal with grief and deal with changing environments and deal with, 100%. Like, any hardship that kind of came your way? You're like, I need humor to be that vessel for me to get through it.
100%. There's a reason why, like, most, like, not all, there's like this like tortured artist thing, but a lot of comics, like, they're pretty fucked up people, right? They're constantly thinking of like, what's the funniest? And I used to think about that all the time. Like, I did deflect with sense of humor. I could catch myself doing it now. I try to, as an adult, when I'm not on stage, I try to be like, if I'm catching myself, yeah, you're a loser. Whatever. Like, I'm trying to and I'm like, okay, all right.
Well, it's cool because
chill.
like I've had this podcast and I've had other guests and they're either coaches or they're, we're talking about very heavy, serious things and the tools that they use to get through it. So like when I met you, I was like, comedy, like that's his thing. Like that's what he's used to just navigate through life, and he's found a purpose in it. And now he's establishing himself as a stand-up comedian. And I was like, what a nice change of pace, we can be have a little fun and, through the purpose that you found that has helped you.
Yeah.
So like, I want to hear the story about how you got thrown into the stand-up.
So friends from Monroe, dude, my friend Anthony. Wes and Anthony are my boys. They are now married. They got 2 daughters apiece, top 6 to 8 years old, right? They're fantastic men, business owners, just good guys, right? My friend Anthony and Wes as well, but Anthony's always motivated me to do things.
What does he do?
He runs his family business, so he blew it up. He's 3rd generation air freight and trucking business.
Oh, good for him.
Grandpa started it. His dad and his uncle, who's the CEO, blew that shit up, and then he came in like a goddamn superhero and saved them during COVID and tripled their income.
Nice.
And he's a savage. He really is, because his name's on the building. Like, he would have had a job there regardless.
Yeah.
He says that too, but he proved himself.
Good for him.
And he I always admired his confidence in high school. Like, talk about he was a dude who played ball, like he could play.
He wasn't one of those virgins.
No, well, he was at the time, but we figured it out. He didn't lose his virginity to me. He tried, but I said no. I'm just kidding. But he still tries. No, he was like a ball player, but he had confidence in himself and was like, I'm the fucking guy. I admired that so much.
Yep.
Like, I was like, how does he have so much confidence? And just as our friendship matured, he instilled that in me. Like, he would just be like, for example, you asked before, I believe the manager here was like, have you ever done a podcast before? I go, well, I've actually had 3 of them. Right. So first podcast I had was a fitness podcast. It's all because of him. He forced me and was like, you're smart. You're a good trainer. You know what you're doing. Why aren't you fucking doing a podcast? It's fun. And it turned out to be great. And we naturally got to pretty high downloads and got a sponsor and got to talk to guys like fucking Mark Bell and Matt Vincent. We went to super training. I went to Westside Barbell. We did a podcast inside Westside Barbell.
That's sick.
The director of Westside vs. the World is our friend. Yeah. We got to go to the Arnold Classic and meet all these fucking amazing people and I was still in contact with.
Nice.
I wouldn't have had that if it weren't for him. Had that podcast for 2 years, and then my buddy and his now wife, they moved to Portland, Oregon. My buddy who I was doing it with, Steve. And I was staying here, and I was starting my job at Equinox. And at the time, I I met this girl who I thought, I was going to marry. That's the first time I was really in love as an adult. So we're like, we probably have to slow this podcast down. It's kind of hard to do. Because when you go to Equinox and you're a trainer, you got to dive right in, right? Yeah. You have no fucking choice. Plus, it was a new club, and I was like, I want to ramp up immediately and start making money. Yeah, I was there right when it opened. So I'm doing that for a while. I'm working, I just was working. Relationships ends up, actually before that, it was August of 2018, I think. Stress Factory in Bridgeport opens up. I believe that summer, maybe in April. My buddy Anthony goes, him and his wife and a bunch of people from his job. He's like, it's really cool, man. It's a fun place. You should go check it out. If you want to go see a show. It is.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't really want to. And he's like, they have an open mic. And he's like, you want to do it? And I was like, absolutely not. I was like, what are you trying to do to me, man? And he was like, come on. He goes, you're fucking fine. Just try it. And I go, no. And for weeks, he just was like, come on. And I was like, leave me the fuck alone. I was just like, leave me alone. Yeah. And then one day he called me and was like, all right, open mic Wednesday night. He goes, I just signed you up. We're all coming. And I was like, fuck you, man. Are you serious? He goes, yep, you're doing it. I went, okay. I go on stage the first time. And probably for the first year and a half, 2 years of comedy, before I walked on stage, I was like, I felt like I was going to die. I was like, this is it. I'm going to die right here. The nerves were crazy. Went on stage, didn't do horribly. Did another open mic. And then me and my girl broke up. Did like 2 shows. Then me and my girl broke up. Again, this is the girl I don't bring a lot of girls around my friends unless I believe that it's going somewhere. We break up. And now I need something to do. Now I'm like, all right, I need to fucking get going with it. I need a distraction. Like, work isn't enough. Let me just go. I go to the open mic every Wednesday at Stress Factory. And at that time, the mic every Wednesday at Stress Factory was like a show. Like, random people were coming to see it. It wasn't just comics in a room being miserable. It was like a show.
Like, people knew you were coming.
Well, it's just like, it was a show. Like people in the area were like, let's go see the open mic. Like, it was like a party every Wednesday. And I needed the distraction. And after my 3rd open mic, things started to click. And I was like, okay. And I would go up there and like start to do pretty good and blah, blah, blah. And then like slowly, I didn't tell anyone. And then slowly, I was really nervous about it in the beginning. Clients started to find out. People, whatever. I had a client at Equinox who was like, I'm going to come see you do your open mic. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, please don't. Like, just leave me alone.
Separate this, please.
Yeah, I don't want to. I was about 6 months into comedy at this point, and I get on stage, and I did well. And I get off stage, and he goes, God damn it. And I go, what? He goes, I was coming here fully prepared for you to just suck so I can make fun of you relentlessly. And he goes, you were actually pretty good.
He wanted you to bomb.
He was so funny about it. He goes, God damn it. And then that slowly led into us booking shows together and then meeting other comics in the area, and him and I had a podcast together, and then it snowballed, right? And it was moving in a good direction. We were like, you know, things were moving, things were happening. I still was as nervous and I wasn't as comfortable as I was now. And then probably the week, I was nervous to like go into New York. I was fine doing the Connecticut shows, but like, you got to go to New York, you got to blah, blah, blah. Probably a week before the pandemic hit was a show, and Lisa Lampanelli was there. Okay, she's from Connecticut. She knew my buddy Bo, Bo and I all had a podcast together called Losers with a Dream. It's still out there. We don't do it anymore.
Losers with a Dream.
Losers with a Dream. And it was like her coaching us, you know, like us open micers trying to help us, and she really helped us a ton. But I remember it was the week before the pandemic. Her friend was headlining our club. We had a basement comedy club in South Norwalk. And we're at the club, whatever. I do my act. Again, goes well. I get off stage, whatever. After the show, we're all hanging out. And I walk backstage, and Lisa's there. You know, her friend was the headliner. And Lisa, for those who know, you could YouTube her, and if you remember her, she says it like it is, right? So I walk backstage, and she goes, and you. And I go, oh, no. She goes, you. I liked all of your jokes. They were very well written. It was good. You've been going up in New York? What have you been doing? I go, no, I work early. Like, I wake up early. I work at Equinox. And she goes, oh, fuck off. She goes, do you want to be a comic in Norwalk the rest of your life? She goes, I'm telling you, go to New York. You got something here. Figure it out. And I was like, at the time, again, still nervous, still not wanting to. And I was like, yeah, I'll go to New York. And then, of course, the next week, the world shut down. It was pandemic. So then you have 5 months to think about it. Like, do I really want to do this? Is this something I really want to do? And, yeah, that's kind of how it started, and then just kept going from here. And now I start to make a little bit of money from it, so it's that's exciting.
Yeah,
and you know, you get more comfortable. I'm 6 years in now, and it's just fun. I have friends from it. Like, it gives me stuff to do on the weekend. I don't know where it's gonna go. I still struggle with, and I'm sure a lot of people you have on, or a lot of the people that are entrepreneurs, like, still struggle with a little bit of imposter syndrome. A little bit. Mm-hmm. It's not there nearly as much as it was, maybe 10%. But yeah, things are trying to move things in the right direction now, and it's been a lot of fun. Take the pressure out of it too. So,
well, like, I personally don't really think you're that funny, but
I agree, dude. I'm with you.
But like, that's great.
See, and like 6 years ago, that would have bothered me and killed me. And now I'm like, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah,
I don't. Well,
like, you touched upon so much right there, man. Just like getting the reps in. And like, that's like the best way to build your confidence. And that's what it sounds like. You struggled with a confidence issue in the beginning.
100%.
And like, having people
imposter,
like Anthony and Lisa,
yeah,
to kind of push you. That, I mean, those are the significant people that you just least expect, you know, to become your inspirations or just like your motivating factors. I mean, to me, like, you know, I've had a friend just like Anthony. His name's Joe, and he
Some of those Italian guys, huh? They're so
Joe
pushy.
Fortunato. Joe Fortunato, man.
You want Anthony's last name? Anthony Baccarella.
Dude,
oh, dude.
That's what I'm saying.
You have to have an Italian best friend. If we've learned anything here today.
Dude, you have to have an Italian best friend with the most confidence in themselves than you'll ever meet.
know, dude.
Even when it's false confidence. And that was Joe.
Yeah.
To AT. Joe would... I could do this. I could fight him. I could do whatever I want.
Dude, that was
and
Anthony.
He had the utmost confidence in himself.
Yeah.
And, for a while, like, I think it was a similar dynamic where he was like, like he saw my gifts.
Yeah.
And now to this day, it's like, he's like one of my biggest supporters,
Same. Yeah.
And he's, like I bounce things off of him. And it's like, I kind of built this, like, I call it my board of directors, where it's like I have these circle of close friends who I can just go to and be like, hey, this is what I'm thinking about doing. Or, hey, this is how I'm feeling. Or, hey, this just happened. What should I do? And I think that's really important to have.
100%.
And, for you, like going into like just like a field that's just, there's so many comedians right now.
That's the thing too, is like this all happened and like the comedy boom kind of started, right? So it's such a, it's not like back in the day where it was like you get on the Tonight Show, you do the best 5 minutes possible, and then you get a sitcom deal. Like that's not the case anymore.
Well, no, it's if you make people laugh on TikTok, you get a sitcom, So
or you just go sell out, and I've seen it. They're selling out comedy clubs, right? Mm-hmm. A couple good TikToks are selling out comedy clubs, and it's a whole different thing right now. And there was a part of me, I don't post nearly enough. I have stuff I should post. Don't get me wrong. I still as confident as I am, as happy as I am where I'm at. There are moments like I don't film any of my sets really, ever.
Huh?
It's like a weird thing in my head where I'm like, if I film it, it's not gonna go. I have like a weird. You know how much shit I've missed? You know how much like good moments I've missed because I'm like, I gotta set up the camera. If it's like at New York Comedy Club in Stamford where they film it for you and send it to you, great.
Yeah.
But other than that, I get real weird about that shit.
Now, do you still look at it? Because one might argue that's missed opportunity.
1,000% it's missed opportunity.
Yeah.
I've missed so much good moments of comedy just from not filming anything. Just because I have this weird thing, and maybe it's like a self-sabotage thing.
Yeah.
Staying, and I think people struggle with this too, is like staying stuck. Right?
Well, do you think you're still in that, like, I'm still just an imposter?
Oh, no.
No?
I don't think I'm in the imposter thing. I think I'm more, not that I've pulled back from comedy, but I'll be honest, there's just like the last year or so, I'm still doing it and I still like it, but there are moments where I'm like,
well, you know what it is? It's fear.
Yeah,
that's
of
what
course.
It's fear.
I'm trying other things. Like
Yeah.
I signed up. I'm doing acting classes in New York this summer.
That's awesome.
Like that's the thing is like I have fear, but I'm also like done a lot of things, like powered through a lot of things. So it's like this weird middle ground of things. Also, I wanted to make like writing to me. Sitting down and writing jokes it's not fun to me.
The thing I was going to say is like I can relate to that because my public speaking coach, Brandon, is like film yourself speaking and watch it.
Oh yeah, we talked about this.
Film yourself speaking and watch it and keep doing it. And going back to your football days, that's what you did for football.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of like you apply that same strategy to speaking for me and my sake, keep speaking, and you for comedy. And that's how you get better. You watch yourself. You see what you could have done differently. You see your mannerisms. You see your stage presence. And leading up to a couple weeks ago when I spoke at his conference, I was very uncomfortable with that. Yeah. And I would get on these calls with Brandon like every week, and I was asking him for more time, and I would record it, and if I had to reflect back on how I could have done better on that speech, I would have set up an easel and I would have done my speech and walked and did exactly my mannerisms and how I would have done it. And I would have critiqued it. And that's what would have made the speech just bring it to a different level. And, I think for me, part of it's laziness, part of it's fear, part of it's time management. If I'm being completely candid, it's all of those.
Oh, yeah.
Where it's like, how much work am I willing to put in to elevate my public speaking profile?
Right.
And having learned from that experience, I'm going to budget time to refining my keynote and presenting it and then reviewing it. And because that's the only way I'm going to feel comfortable being on bigger stages.
Right.
And I think that is, parallel to comedy.
100%. Do you feel like, do you like just winging it?
It's so funny, man, because the funniest thing, man, like I remember I did 3 of his speaker schools. I did 1 in Chicago. Oh, I did 4. I did Chicago, New York, Miami, and half at Stanford. And I remember for the New York speaker school, I wrote out this whole speech, and I just was like, all right, my story is really personal, and I was so afraid of it sounding scripted, and then like I just wasn't feeling it. So the day of, I go into the seminar room where we're talking, and I just like went and just like spoke from my heart, and I talked about like a story about when I had gotten in trouble because of my drinking, but it was passionate and it was heartfelt. And there were 3 judges on the panel, and they had criticism, but it wasn't at the passion behind the speech. It was more about the structure and where I could have gotten into more detail. And that's something that all 3 of them said was something a more veteran speaker would know.
Right.
But I think that like, I do get comfortable winging it, because when I write it down, I sometimes, when I write it scripted, there are parts where I'll be like, oh man, I forgot that line. And then mid-speech, I'll go back or I'll acknowledge it, and it'll shake me off completely. Now I have like a different strategy where I, almost like an outline format where I know the key points, and then the intro and the conclusion, I wouldn't say I memorized, but I know like I have like anchor lines where I know what goes into what.
Yeah.
So I can end resoundingly powerful. Okay. But I like to wing it. I do like to wing it.
Same, dude. It's honestly, it's more fun. I feel like more in the moment. Even when I first started, I would write things out, but I had like I would have bullet points in like my notes thing in my iPhone, just like a notes section of like I didn't have written things out, just notes. I would look down. All right, this is what's next. Right now, I leave all my shit in the back. I don't keep anything up there with me.
Really?
There was a way of like, this happened like last summer where I just kind of, not like I snapped, but I was just like, you know what? Fuck all this. I'm just gonna go up there and I'm gonna see what happens. Let's figure it out. Yeah. And like, that was my way of challenging myself, being like, I don't even know. I know the first joke maybe I'm going to say or 2, and then I'm just going to figure it out from there. Fuck it.
Well, it's storytelling.
Yeah.
And I think that's the same thing with public speaking. Like, one thing that, Brandon always says is facts tell us the stories sell. And, I think it's the same thing with comedy. Like, you bring people into a story, but you just got to hit the punchline. And that's why I think stand-up comedy is harder than anything that, I would do, because you have an instant reaction as to whether your audience is engaged. Yeah. And that's contingent on how you perform. As opposed to me, like, I could sit there and speak to an audience. They're all quiet for the most part. You'll get a round of applause at the end, but you're not like,
you're not looking for a reaction.
You're not getting the validation. So it's like, all right, I'm on the right track. So I think that's way more challenging. Question for you, because mentorship is a big part of how I continue to grow. Who were mentors on the comedy landscape, other than Lisa, or stand-up comedians that you study?
I'll say this. As far as mentors, it's Lisa, 100%. Yeah. Every week, me, Bo, her and another one of our comics. Every week we meet at the diner
Nice.
to discuss, mostly for friendship stuff, but at the end we'll go over jokes. I haven't brought any jokes to the table in some time because I hate writing. But Lisa's like, again, she's like, hey man, if you're having fun, you're letting it be, let it fly, right? She 100% is the mentor for me. As far as me watching comedy, I'll tell you right now, I don't watch much.
Really?
I do like Tom Segura. Like, I feel like he's really consistent and funny. I like a lot of these guys, but there's no world where I'm like sitting down and really like watching a special or going through. Like, I've unfollowed a lot of people.
Why do you think that is?
I just don't want to hear it.
Do you think you don't want to hear it, or you find yourself comparing yourself to them?
There's definitely the comparison. I mean, dude, it's no secret that the social media world is like, I mean, if I
It's a comparison
wasn't
factor.
in comedy or didn't want to do certain things like that, I would not have one. I know I wouldn't. You get caught in it. And there's times where I catch myself and I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, why am I... People who like pop up on your thing, you're like, oh, this person, why did they get this? What a horrible way to live, dude. Like, I always think about like the younger generation with like when like Snapchat and Instagram, because like when we were in high school, there wasn't any of that shit.
Yeah.
You had some like, I think
MySpace.
Facebook, yeah. But like...
Facebook 1.0.
The emotional stress it causes like kids and shit. Like, you imagine like liking a girl and like her not, you know, like reciprocating that, and then seeing her Instagram story and she's with some guy who you don't like, and you're like, oh, that crushes you, or vice versa, girl, guy. It's just like, it's tough. So like, I don't consume much comedy. Like, I watch the Tom Brady roast because it's fucking Tom Brady.
Yeah.
And like, I wanted to see what the football players had to say. I knew all those comics.
Gronk was
like,
hilarious.
Gronk was great.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what,
He didn't even mean to be funny. He was just funny.
No, my favorite moment is when I think Jeff Ross made a comment about Robert Kraft, and the only person, Willie McGinnis, one of the biggest, baddest defensive linemen ever, big black dude. You see him in the corner of the camera laughing his ass off. He didn't laugh at much that night. He fucking loved that. Yeah. I love little dumb things like that where you're like, you get some big ass dude in the NFL. It's like, that was fucking funny.
There was one guy in like on the podium, like in the back right. And I don't know who he was. He must have been a player, a former player, and he wouldn't laugh at like a lot of things, but like
because they don't have to. The comics know they're on camera and they have to play, but like when you're an ex NFL athlete, you don't have to do anything.
Dude, I couldn't tell if he couldn't understand the jokes or if he just didn't think it was funny.
He was just like, all right,
yeah, but like the girl from Boston who came out, I loved her.
Which girl?
She was the lesbian.
Sarah J.
She was great.
Sam J.
Yeah, she was great.
So good. Nikki Glazer killed it. But like, honestly, other than like a special event like that, where it's like, all right, let me watch this shit. I don't watch a lot of comedy. I don't do it. I'll watch movies. I love TV shows. The acting stuff really interests me. Like, you know, seeing someone like a DiCaprio or someone like really get into a role, or like really get fucking like him in Django, I think is one of the craziest performances I've ever seen in my life. I was just like, this dude's not like, how do you do this?
Yeah.
That obviously Sopranos, not just because I'm Italian, but because it's one of the best shows ever. But like to think they were all off camera chilling, and then now they're doing this scene where they're fucking screaming at each other. And I'm like, how do people get there? Like, that fascinates me. The funny thing has always come easy to me, even as a child.
Yeah.
But like, and again, deflecting and not being vulnerable and deflecting with humor. But like the sadness, anger part of things, like how people get there or let themselves feel those feelings, that interests me more than anything.
Well, it's funny because like it's,
not that I can't
it's emotional
appreciate
regulation
comics,
to the T.
100%.
You know, where you just have so like you can shift from like, you know, shooting the shit like we are to just like being like angry or sad or just like fully like, you know, embracing that, which is crazy, which I think a lot of people do now, like just subconsciously, you know. And I think like going back to what you said about social media, like, yeah, like, dude, like I totally get that where, yeah, I read something that Americans now in one day consume as much bad news as folks back in like the 30s or 40s do in a lifetime.
That makes sense.
And
there wasn't much
in
happening
one day
back then. Well, World War II was happening, but other than that,
that's crazy.
And America didn't even know.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
you know, and like, you know, now it's like I regimented myself where it's like when I'm on social media, and dude, I catch myself doom scrolling every now and then, but I've turned off all my alerts. So
Same.
I turned off all my alerts.
Same.
And, you know, I follow things that I can learn from, you know, and when I find myself not liking what's, you know, I switch it up. And, you know, I think like social media is like an algorithm where like back in the day, if you're just like looking at like pictures of girls or pictures of cars, that's all it's going to feed you, you know. But if you're hungry for personal growth or you're hungry for, you know, for me, it's public speaking. So it's like, I look at a lot of, clips of people speaking, you know, and it's constantly pumping it for me, you know. So, I do look at those because there are certain people I look up to. Like I love the way Denzel speaks. I love the way Obama speaks. I love the way Trevor Noah speaks. Yeah. You know, and it gives me just like a, you know, a role model. I think role models are important to me.
100%.
But, you know, one thing I wanted to ask you is, where do you see your comedy career going, or do you see it evolving more into acting?
I mean, I know, like, if we're being real and we're putting this on paper, in like the last year or so, I've maybe written 2 new jokes. I've gone on stage and I've simply relied on my likability and my ability to do crowd work. I'm talking 20, 30-minute sets sometimes where I'm like, it's one joke I've told, but I'm just going off people and talking.
I love crowd work.
It's so fun, and I needed to find a way to make comedy like less stressful and more fun for me, because I see guys stressing out about it. I'm like, dude, this is fun. Like, we should not be freaking the fuck out. Also, none of us, the guys I'm with at these shows, no one's at the level where like,
yeah,
there's millions of dollars on the line. If this set doesn't go well, I won't get a sitcom. We're making 50 to, if it's a private event, maybe $200.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To talk for 20 minutes, which is great. But where do I see it going? I can definitely see myself, getting in the acting part.
Okay.
I'm really excited about it. I haven't been this excited to do something like this in a while. One of the things too, to go back to like my childhood and moving to Monroe, when I was in 8th grade, my 8th grade English teacher ran the theater department at Mamaroneck High School. And instead of us being bored kids there and talking about To Kill a Mockingbird, she had us act it out.
Oh, really?
And I was like, this is so fun. And again, not trying to toot my own horn, but she was like would ask my dad, because her and my dad were actually friends. And she's like, can I take Nicholas to like play practice after school one day? My dad's like, yeah. She goes, I'll take him to McDonald's and I'll bring him home. My dad, he knew. I think they went to high school together. Back. She was from Mamaroneck too. And my dad, she was like a few years younger. My dad goes, yeah, take him. They were friends.
Yeah.
But she took me to play practice. And I remember sitting there and being like, initially I was like, because I played football, I was like, these kids are weird. I don't know about this, man. I don't know if I could do this. But she was like dead set on like, you're good at this. You're going to be in the theater next year. And I was like, no, I play football and lacrosse. And she's like, you could do that too. Yeah. But, back then it was like one or the other, but it didn't really have to be. So going back to that. She saw
the talent in you.
She saw whatever it was, me being a dumbass when I was a kid. And she was like, all right. She goes, let's channel this somewhere.
That's super cool.
So it's like, I don't start acting class till, I don't know when this comes out, but I don't start till July in the city. And I may do it and I may hate it, but I don't think so. I really don't.
Yeah.
Like even now, it's just, I see it going that way. I'll still do comedy. I still like it. It's still fun. But right now it's, I'm getting closer and closer to being like, fuck it. Just dive into this. Go head first. Because for the first 6 years, I've been pretty like, but there's a part of me that's like, let's go, man. Like, just push it for a little bit and see what's up. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Plus, having a corporate job will do that to you.
Sure will.
I spend more time in front of a computer. I have like neck hurts now. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? Dude,
I get it, man. I usually like to close with a couple rapid fire questions.
Let's go.
So they never end up being rapid fire, but we'll do our best. So
additional 4 hours of bonus footage on Patreon.
If you could talk to your younger self, what 3 pieces of advice would you give to yourself?
3 pieces. I mean, number 1 is just telling yourself like, hey man, confidence. I missed out on more opportunities and more things just from being nervous and not being confident in myself.
Love that.
That is number 1. That may be 1 through 3. I don't even know what the fuck.
Like Joey and Anthony, man.
I don't even. Yeah, like in a real quick funny Anthony story. When we played football together in high school, one time we were like 15, and I asked him, and I go, "You think you could block Ray Lewis?" He goes, "Absolutely." And I was like, "This kid's fucking nuts, dude."
Yeah, dude.
And he's like, he knew, and even said, he's like, "I knew I would get killed, but I would try."
Yeah.
And I remember thinking about that, being like, that's interesting. Even right now, he's 36 years old. He's like, I'll knock Jake Paul out. He could box, like, for real. My boy. And he's like, I'll knock him out right now. He goes, Tyson I won't touch. He goes, but Jake I can knock out. And I was like, okay. But I think for me, it came down to confidence. That might be 1 through 3. Because, again, opportunities that I missed of confidence. I would also say, like, again, the comparisons, thinking everyone else has it figured out. Or everyone's like, because we get caught in these stories we tell ourselves. I wasn't a good student, not because I was dumb, because I didn't try.
Yep.
I didn't do anything, dude. Again, I had great teachers that every year, the amount of people in my life who have supported me every year would be like, you're my project. And I'd be like, what do you mean? They're like, you're not living up to your potential. This is for all 4 years of high school. I had a teacher who would always say this to me. I had teachers who were direct with me. Senior year, I had Mr. Ryder. He was one of my teachers. This dude, he's first period.
Yeah.
I skipped his class once. I only had periods 1 through 4 because 7 through 8 was woodshop and gym, and those teachers were like, "You're good," and they gave me a B for the rest of the year. I lived like a mafia lifestyle in high school. I shouldn't have been allowed to do anything I did. I only had periods 1 through 4. He was number 1. My girlfriend was home from college. I skipped it to like go see her in the morning, and I came back to school, and I was sitting at like the window where all the seniors sit, and like kids are changing classes, right? And I'm sitting there, and Mr. Ryder at the time, was a young dude, like 29 in shape, like a coach. He just came up to me in front of everyone. He didn't give a fuck because everyone loved him. He just goes, "Where the fuck were you?" And I was like, He goes, "Really, man?" And like just laid into me. And I was like, man, I am a fucking idiot. And even like the girls and everyone we were with, they're like, "Why are you being a dick to Mr. Ryder?" Like all my friends looked at me like, "You're an idiot, man. He's like the best teacher here." Like, what is wrong with you? So I would tell myself to like, believe in yourself a little bit more. Not wanting to try. Because I had a 1.2 GPA in high school. Shouldn't have made it out. But President Bush, no child left behind.
Hey.
That's how I got out, baby. But that's it. Confidence, believe in yourself a little bit more. That would be 1 through 3. That would have saved me a lot of grief and problems as a kid. No doubt.
Nice. And the second question is, right now, what advice would you give to someone who's like finding their purpose? And so, I'll rephrase. What advice would you give to someone right now who's finding their purpose, and what habits would you recommend that they incorporate?
Number 1 has to be consistency. I think more than anything in this society, this is just how it is now. And I saw it as a fitness trainer, right? You especially at Equinox. I worked in mostly wealthy areas, but people want things quickly. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, you're training a person who took 30, 40 years to become a multimillionaire and build a business, and they had tons of patience and all that shit, but they want to get fit in 4 weeks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For whatever reason, fitness gets, I got 8 weeks. I got to get, it's like, well, doesn't go like that. You know what I mean? It's not how it goes, but there's other ways to phrase that. But consistency over time and just believing in yourself, man. Cause there's moments like, I'd say like last April, I truly was like, man, I really don't know if I want to do comedy at all. I was in a mood where I was like, I went through like some rounds of like pretty tough therapy and we're like digging up some things and really pushing and trying to find purpose and find what the fuck's going on with me. And I remember thinking like, dude, comedy just feels silly right now. But if you're out there and you're trying to find your purpose and work on some stuff, number 1 thing you could do is be consistent and work on yourself.
Love that.
I don't know if you talk about it at all, and I'm sorry for bringing, but like your sobriety, right?
Talk about it a lot.
All the comics I don't know, it's anonymous is in it, so I don't want to, everyone gets a little, okay.
Well, I'm not anonymous.
Yeah. Great. A lot of the comics the guys I know that I work with and are friends with are all in the program usually and sober. To be around guys that are constantly looking inward and working on themselves, you see how everything in their life changes. It's not like, I'm just like, we've all seen the person who only works on their body. Like, and you end up talking to that person, it's like talking to a fucking wall. And it's clear that this is their everything and they don't have other aspects of their self developed. Working on yourself makes everything else fall into place.
Love that.
100%. I see it with those dudes. I couldn't be friends with people who didn't work on themselves. I couldn't do it. These guys are self-aware. I told you a story about, I think I told you this at the gym, but I'll tell it for this purpose. One of the guys who I still do comedy with to this day, and he may get mad at this, but he knows the truth. For the first 3 years of comedy, all he did was bomb. He sucked. Guess what? He got sober, took a year off, figured out who the fuck he was as a person, killing it.
Killing it.
Completely different person on stage. Didn't sit down and write or move to LA or worked on himself and everything fell into place. And now he's on stage and it's like, it's a different person because by the way, the audience could pick up on if you're being a bullshit artist or not, or if you're trying to project something you're not. See a lot of guys do that shit too. Just doesn't work, right? He's a completely different person. So that's what I would say is just be consistent and work on yourself.
Love that.
You have to do it. Can't stress it enough. It's the only way it's going to change. But
Nicholas Scopeletti.
What's up? Do you want to kiss at the end of this? Or
no,
what?
I don't. I do want you to tell my audience how they can get in touch with you, what you got coming up next.
When's this come out? What's the date? What year is this?
This will probably come out in 2 weeks.
2 weeks. I don't even know what's going on this summer.
2 or 3 weeks.
I will say follow. You could follow me on Instagram at Nick Scopes. So follow me there. A lot of the shows that I do around in Connecticut and New York, I would follow That's Fair Comedy. That's my boy's business. We do a lot of stuff out of South Norwalk, Fairfield, breweries, New York Comedy Club in Stamford. We have a monthly show there. He has a monthly show there. I just occasionally get booked on it. That's pretty much it right now, man. Like, just follow me on Instagram. And maybe this, Adam, you could follow me to my car if you want. We could.
Fair enough.
Yeah, sounds good. Bring this hot young producer guy too. That'd be cool. But no, I fresh out of college, dude.
Not
pretending
Cornell.
he went to Cornell.
Oh my God, dude. Thank you so much. My name's Adam Vora. You can reach me at Adam on Instagram at AdamVora_, or go to my website, www.arventerprisesllc. Shoot me a DM, and if you're interested in also being a guest. And catch you next time.
Later.